Welcome to Where Are They Now? We reach into the archives of Lenape, Shawnee, Cherokee, and Seneca High Schools and invite selected alumni to share memories and fill us in on their career paths after commencement. Since Lenape's first graduating class in 1961, Shawnee's in 1972, Cherokee's in 1978, and Seneca's in 2005, over 58,000 individuals have received diplomas from these four schools. Here now is your host, John Donaldson.
Welcome to Where Are They Now? Our guest today is an alum from Shawnee High School's class of 2003, Rick Engel. Rick is a lieutenant in the Navy currently stationed at Point Mugu, California as Satellite Operations Officer. Welcome to the program, Rick.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for taking time out of your schedule to join us.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem.
So, Rick, we had some time to chat before the show, and we had some things you sent back and forth just so we could get familiar with what you were up to these days. Before we even get into your high school career, you had a little pre-high school event, a celebrity encounter that you put in the notes that you sent to us that we kind of found funny. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
You're referring to A.C. Slater.
Yes.
When I was living in California before I moved back to New Jersey, I had a wrestling tournament, and A.C. Slater, the god of wrestling, graced our presence at one of my wrestling tournaments, and everyone was freaking out and calling him A.C. Slater. We didn't know he was Mario Lopez, and didn't care. We were just calling him A.C. Slater all day long, and we just bum rushed him, and he stayed the entire day signing autographs and taking pictures. So I got my picture with him on a $5 disposable camera that I just purchased, and I had him sign a napkin because that's all I could find. So
that's pretty cool.
It was pretty cool. I still have everything. I still have the picture of the napkin. It's great.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So getting into your high school career, you were pretty involved in school. You had a lot of things you were involved with. I think your senior year, though, was the first year you went out for track. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was. I was actually trying to get in shape for the Naval Academy, and so I said, you know what, I'm just going to join the track team and really work on my conditioning. And they kind of said your conditioning for long distance isn't that good, but they said, how are you at jumping in the sand, running really fast and jumping in the sand? I said, I would be great at that. That sounds fun. Let's do it. And so I did long jump and triple jump, and I did really well.
Yeah, so well that you broke both school records.
I did, yeah, for long jump and triple jump. Mr. Williams pulled me aside one day, and he says, oh, yeah, by the way, Ricky, that last meet that we just had, that was a school record. And I was like, oh, cool. That's awesome.
Do you happen to know if that still stands, or has it been broken?
I haven't checked up on it yet. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, records are made to be broken, right?
That's right, yeah.
You were also on the baseball team. Was that all 4 years?
No, I played baseball up until my junior year, and a personal decision of mine, I decided that baseball wasn't as enjoyable as it was, growing up when I was younger. So I just decided if it's not fun, why am I doing it? So I decided to step away from baseball, which is a huge deal to me and my family because I've played sports all of my life, 3 sports a season, or 3 sports a year. And for me to walk away from baseball, I was hesitant to tell my family, but when I told them, they were completely supportive. My family is so loving and supportive on anything and everything that I do. And so I stepped away from baseball.
You were also involved with the Shawnee Singers. Was that Mr. Loudon when you were there?
That was Mr. Loudon and Mrs. Labriola, who I happen to be friends with on Facebook, and she checked up on me not too long ago. But yeah, I had a wonderful time with Shawnee Singers. Basically what happened was you had to have an elective for art or chorus, and I am terrible. I can barely draw a stick figure. So I said, hey, I sing in my car sometimes. I sing in the shower sometimes. So I tried out for chorus, and I did really well, and I got invited to audition for Shawnee Singers, which is an elite singing group at Shawnee. And I tried out, I made it, and I loved it, and it was really fun. It was a really great experience.
So you were also involved with Students Actively Concerned. What was that club about?
Students Actively Concerned, or SAC, was basically a group of students who wanted to, do some kind of like community work. We went to a school that had like mentally handicapped type of children there, and we performed skits and plays, and I played Superman. So all the kids came up to me and were, asking me if I could fly and if I could shoot lasers out of my eyes, and I told them I could, and they loved it. I loved it too. I wanted to be Superman.
That sounds like a good experience. I left a couple things off your activities list until we got to this point in the show, because you were involved in two other things. Mr. Gushu was your football coach because you were on the football team. Talk to me about, he left a lasting impression on you. Talk to me about what he meant to you and what his guidance meant and your experiences on the football team.
Everything that I remember from Coach Gushu is all positive and amazing moments in my life. He was one of the very most influential men in my life growing up. Without a father, I had my grandfather and I had my coaches. And Coach Gushu really made a huge impact on my life as I was growing and maturing into a man. He coached me on the field and he coached me off the field. And, there's so many defining moments where I came to him and I realized something about life or something about myself or something about my abilities that I didn't know before speaking with him. And it's all just really great memories and also tools that he provided for me I've still used to this day to be successful in my life.
So there's a lot involved with this relationship, and I want to hit each of these points, but you were on the football team, like we just said, and you got to score the only 2 touchdowns in the Shawnee's championship game, their first state title?
That's right.
Talk about that experience. That had to be outstanding.
So we had a really rocky start for our senior year, and we were 2-2. And we had this huge meeting with the team late at night in the school library. And we basically made a decision, this is our last year and this is our chance to shine. We've worked so hard for this, and, we need to stop messing around. Let's go in and win the rest of the season. And so we got to the state championship. We're playing Washington Township, and it's a really tough game. And they ended up scoring a touchdown and a field goal. So it was 10-0 going into halftime. And everyone comes into the locker room, and we're just so scared that, Coach Gushu's going to just be, just a tornado of anger. And he comes into the locker room. He sits down right next to us on the bench, and he says, "Men," he goes, "we need to play better. I know you can do better." And he's like, all I'm asking is your best. And he talked to us like adults. He didn't scream at us. He didn't put us down. He, didn't crush our spirits. If anything, the way he approached it was like, oh my gosh, you know what? Like, this is, he's right. We should just try our best and give it all we got. This is the very last game, the very last half of our high school career. And so we went back out there, and I scored a rushing touchdown. So now it's 10-7. And then in the fourth quarter, Billy Kurtz threw a pass to me, and I was wide open. I caught it and scored another touchdown. So we won 14-10.
Nice way to cap off your 4-year career of football.
Yeah, absolutely. It was absolutely amazing, and for that to be our first state championship for our team, but also for the school, it was just an amazing experience. I still remember a lot of details of that night.
So you were a pretty diverse young man, because not only were you involved heavily in sports and, like as you mentioned, Shawnee Singers, you also were in musicals your junior and senior year. Now, was the musical in the fall or the spring?
Musicals in the spring.
Okay.
So we talked earlier about me not playing baseball anymore. Well, I've been, active in sports my whole life and busy. And I was just like, what do I do with myself now? What is next? I can't just not do anything. So some girls approached me that I was friends with, that I was in Shawnee Singers with, and they said, Rick, you would be perfect for the musicals. And, why don't you just come out and try out? And, I was like, I don't know, I'm not sure. But secretly I was kind of interested in it. And so it was such a huge change from playing sports my whole life to musicals. I thought about it for a long time, and then I tried out. And my junior year was the musical Footloose, and I ended up getting the lead, which was Kevin Bacon in the movie Footloose, his role.
And then your senior year was West Side Story, and you got the lead again.
Yes, it was kind of more of a supporting. It wasn't like the main character. It was like a supporting character named Riff, and he was the leader of the Jets, and there was the leader of the Sharks. So these were two opposing gangs, I guess you could say, or groups. And I was the leader of it, and I loved it. It was so much fun.
And you had mentioned that Mr. Gushu was supportive of this decision and would stay after school so you could work out. What was that about? Why was he staying after so you could work out?
So Coach Gushu's, you play football for him. He doesn't, he wants you to stay active, and he wants you to play sports. If you're playing another sport, he'll kind of leave you alone. But there are also spring training exercises and workouts that we're responsible for. And I said, hey, Coach, those workouts for spring training are the same time as my high school musical practices and performances. And he said, all right, I'll tell you what. He goes, I'll stay late, and I'll meet up with you after your high school musical practice. He goes, you and I, one-on-one in the gym. And I was like, man, this guy is like dedicated, right? and so I work for my musical practice for like 3 hours, dancing, singing, acting, and then I go over to the gym. It's like late at night, no one's at school really, and he turns on all the lights in the gym, and I start working out. But the pace that I'm going at in the beginning, there's no one else that's in front of me or working out with me. So I'm going from this machine to that machine to this machine. And there was a moment where I really I pushed myself too hard, and I ended up throwing up because I was working out too hard. And, he kind of eased back on the throttle a little bit, but, I love the fact that he didn't just like forget about me, or he didn't just, not let me work out. He came in there, worked out with me, stayed there with me, pushed me. And, stuff like that was probably what helped me my senior year score those 2 touchdowns.
So Mr. Gushu played a pretty big role in a really important part in your life when you first met your father. So I don't know if you want to give us a little history on that, but he was there for that. Talk to our viewers about that.
Absolutely. So growing up my entire life, I never knew my father. I didn't know his name. I never saw a picture, never talked about it. And it was a very touchy subject with my mother. And one day, out of the blue, my mom says, let's talk about your father. And she tells me everything that I ever wanted to know about him. And I was just amazed, and I couldn't believe it. And I said, Mom, this is great, but why are you telling me now? And she said, your father moved back to New Jersey, and he contacted me, and he wants to meet you. the way he contacted my mother was my dad moved back to New Jersey, and he went to his mentor in New Jersey, which happened to be Coach Gushu, who he played for at Shawnee. And he said, listen, Coach, I have a son, or I think I have a son. I'm pretty sure. He plays football for you. His name's Engel. And he's like, what do I do? How do I approach this? So Coach Gushu and my dad kind of, talked out a game plan and got my mother's phone number. And, my dad called and they talked for a while and then finally said, okay, let's have you two meet. So, so then I get the news and I pull Coach Gushu aside and I say, hey, Coach, there's something huge, major I got to talk to you about. And I said, I don't know how to explain this. Or I don't know how to tell you, but I just found out about, my father, and I'm going to be meeting him tomorrow. And he goes, I know Ricky. And I was like, He's like, yeah, I spoke with him yesterday. He used to be a football player at Shawnee, and I used to coach him. I remember Coach Gushu saying that, he saw a lot of resemblance and similarity. And as soon as my dad said that, he had a son on the team or at Shawnee High School, he said, Ricky Engel. And he's like, how did you know? And he was like, you're a spitting image. It's like watching you, grow up again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So sticking with this storyline right now, you're also in the process in your life of changing your last name. So why don't you let our viewers, anybody that's trying to reach you, might need to know this in the future. Talk to us about that.
Okay. So I met my dad when I was 17, and we met at Lamberti's. We started off as friends. I said, listen, let's just start off as friends and we'll go from there. And we talked and hung out and just really got to know each other every single day for the rest of my life. And he's played a very important role. My mother raised me, my family raised me, and they did all the hard work. My dad kind of came in and did some fine tuning and adjustments, but some very important fine tuning and, life guidance and stuff like that. So, we have now celebrated our 10 years together. We just celebrated our 10-year anniversary, and sort of as like a way to become even closer with my father. I have decided to change my last name to my father's, which is Ryba, R-Y-B-A. And so I will now be called Ricky Ryba within the next couple months. There's some legal paperwork I have to fill out.
Does roll off the tongue, though.
It does. Ricky Ryba sounds pretty smooth. I like it, yeah.
So, yeah, that's some amazing stuff that you went through in high school, and you seem to have come out okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I think so, too.
One other teacher that you had mentioned, and not to put her, at the back of the line here, but you'd also mentioned Mrs. Rutterow that you found special and, have fond memories of from your high school days. Why don't you talk a little bit about her and why she meant so much to you?
That's correct. There were so many other teachers that I loved and had, really appreciated their guidance throughout my time at Shawnee. Mrs. Rutterow definitely stands out because I've known her the longest. She knew my family, and so she had seen me and watched me grow up since I was, just a little baby, and I was going to her field hockey games to see my Aunt Bonnie play, and I would go to her house for the canoe carnival in Medford Lakes, and she watched me grow up. And then as soon as I got to Shawnee, she's like, Ricky, I can't believe you're all grown up and you're in Shawnee High School now. She said, listen, if there's anything that you ever need or any kind of help that you need at all, just let me know. And there's a few times where I reached out to her, I talked to her. She was always coming to me and asking me how I'm doing and how's school and how's my family. And I was able to have her for class a few times. I think it was pre-calculus, and I loved her class. I loved her teaching method, and she loved me, and she called me the Bob Hope of the class because I was always entertaining the troops. So it was really funny, and I still till this day remember the quadratic formula because of the way she taught it.
Well, that's a real testament to her that you stuck with you that long.
Yeah.
So
I'm ready to recite it if you want.
Yeah, go ahead, throw it out there.
Well, she told us to remember it by singing to the tune of "Row, Row, Row Your Boat."
Okay.
So the quadratic formula was negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So
Nice job.
there you go.
Well done.
I still remember it. So if there's ever a life or death situation and somebody's like, we need the quadratic formula, thank you, Mrs. Rutterow. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Well, we're going to wrap up your high school career. We talked about it before the show. I didn't tell you. I go to all the yearbooks and I find out what the senior quote is that you have in there. I don't know if you remember what yours is. I'll read it to you and then you can explain it to me. Or I've never read one so specific, to be honest with you. It said, attend and play football for the Naval Academy, become very wealthy, marry a beautiful woman, have 2 boys, and live life to the fullest. Very specific.
That's exactly what I still say.
So moving out of Shawnee, you apply to the U.S. Naval Academy, and you end up having to go to the Naval Academy prep schools. Explain that for us. Okay.
So I got my letter of recommendation from my congressman, and that was, a huge feat in itself. And then I was just waiting to hear back from the Naval Academy, and I found out that I didn't get in, and I took a deep breath. Obviously, my spirit was crushed a little bit because that's what I was really passionate about doing. And I said, you know what, this isn't the end. I can still, apply next year. This is what I want to do, persistence is key. So I contacted the Naval Academy. I contacted the Naval Academy prep school, and I was just talking to and bugging anybody I could possibly get a hold of. What is it that I need to improve, or how can I make my resume stronger? So out of 80,000 people that apply to the Naval Academy every year, only about 900 get in straight from high school. So, my competition was pretty fierce, but they take the people who still qualify for the academy. If they didn't get in, they see if they're good or right for the Naval Academy prep school, where they just need a year to kind of, beef up their grades or their physical tests, whatever it is. So the day of prom for Shawnee High School, I remember this. I was walking out my door to go on my prom, and I get a phone call, and I pick up the phone, and it's the commanding officer from the Naval Academy Preparatory School. And he said, "Is this Ricky Engel?" I said, "Yes, it is." He goes, "Son, I just got out of the admissions board, and as soon as your name came up, there were 6 people that raised their hand and said, I've spoken to this kid. I've talked to him, or I've heard his name before. We took a look at your records, and it looked like you were just right under the cusp of making it." And he was like, persistence pays off. Congratulations, you're now accepted to the Naval Academy Preparatory School. So I went to prep school for a year up in Newport, Rhode Island, and made sure my grades were good, my tests were good. I passed everything. I stayed out of trouble, and I got into the Naval Academy the next year.
You end up with a bachelor's in information technology. You're involved on varsity sprint football, the U.S. Naval Academy Men's Glee Club, the pep rally football host, and you were also a finalist in the Academy Idol singing competition. Pick one and just let us talk about it.
No, sprint football definitely had the biggest impact on me. Sprint football, for those who are unaware, is a lightweight varsity college football league where everybody on the team has to weigh under 165 pounds. I think they just bumped it up to 172, but you have to be 165 pounds, and you have to pass a water weight test as well. So you make sure you're hydrated and you're not just losing all your water weight, you know, so that you're doing it healthy, kind of like wrestling. It's like a mixture of wrestling and football. And so everybody on the team is my size, my height, my weight, but they call it sprint football because you're sprinting. It is such a faster game because you no longer have those big, heavy linemen or those, you know, muscular, huge linebackers. It is regular, amazing, fast-paced football.
Wow, that sounds really pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, it's great because I can hit them as hard as they can hit me. There's nobody that, you know, is just like 230 pounds of steel.
Right, just going to plant you 6 feet down, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So talk about some of the other stuff, Rick.
To touch more on the sprint football, I had a coach who was a major in the Marine Corps. Those were my coaches. Those were the you know, my coaches and my mentors and my teachers on and off the field, kind of like Coach Gushu. You know, these guys have been to war, been to Iraq and Afghanistan. My last coach was a Purple Heart recipient, and he still had some shrapnel in his arm. My first coach was an F-18 fighter pilot who went to Top Gun and was also a instructor at Top Gun, like Maverick in the movie.
Right.
You know, these guys were Marines who were very philosophical and very hardcore and dedicated about winning and about life. It was really, really an amazing experience to play football with guys who were playing football for a passion, not because they got recruited. There was just a camaraderie there that is undefinable. Those guys are my brothers, and I know that if there was ever any need or help requested by any of them, any of us would you know, take a bullet for any of them without a doubt. So it was a really great experience. I really appreciated it, and I did really well with sprint football there. We ended up winning 3 league championships.
So sticking with the football theme, what did you do for the pep rally football host? What was that responsibility?
So, you know, word quickly spread around school that I was a very outgoing person, and you know, I'm always making people laugh and entertaining the troops like Bob Hope. And so I got approached to host the pep rally, and I said, I've never done this before. You know, usually I'm having the pep rally hosted for my football team, like in high school. But I said, let's do it. So they gave me a microphone, and I just, you know, went out there with a ton of energy, got the crowd all hyped up, and just had so much fun. So I did really well with it, and they loved me. So I did it for the rest of the season. I did it my junior and senior year.
Okay. So we know you can sing. We've heard you sing today. You're also in the men's glee club.
I was serious.
You're also in the men's glee club there, and you're a finalist in the Idol singing competition there. Talk to us about both of those events.
For the men's glee club, it's a very prestigious singing group, and my aspirations were to join the barbershop quartet. I thought those guys were the coolest, and I was like, I would totally be great in that group. The only problem was they met during football season, so I had to make a choice, and I chose sprint football. With the singing competition, they hosted a singing competition called Academy Idol, which is a spin-off of American Idol. And there was something like 250 or 300 people that auditioned and tried out for the competition. and I made it to the top 25. Then I made it to the top 12, and I was singing songs like Frank Sinatra and Josh Groban, like those types of style. And I was trying to make it to the top 6, and I auditioned and sang a song in my falsetto voice, which, for those of you who don't know what that is, it's singing in my girl voice. I just wanted to do something different, spice it up, and I sang Alicia Keys, and I nailed it, and they loved it, and I was one of the finalists in the competition that sang live in front of the brigade, in front of the entire brigade of midshipmen, including officers who were, captains and admirals, majors and colonels, and all these aspiring military officers. And here I come out on stage dressed like Alicia Keys, singing like Keys.
Well, that takes a lot of guts, because if you don't pull that off effectively, you're never going to hear the end of it. So it could have gone one way or the other.
Yeah, everyone loved it. I totally entertained the troops again, Bob Hope.
Right.
And I hit all the notes. I did really well. And believe it or not, my grandmother and my father drove down to Annapolis, Maryland, and videotaped it and watched my performance. So a couple weeks after I graduate from the academy, I'm now a commissioned U.S. naval officer. My official title is an ensign in the Navy. And I show up to my very first ship, and I show up and they say, okay, you're Ensign Engel. Let's go introduce you to your division. And I walk into my division's office area, and there's 18 sailors staring at me. And they say, congratulations, you're the division officer for the Combat Information Center, and you're also the division officer for the electronic warfare community, because they don't have a division officer as well, and we're just going to pair them up. So I'm staring at 18 sailors as their new boss, and I hadn't been there since breakfast, and I'm now their I'm now their new boss, and I'm a fresh 22-year-old who just graduated, and some of these guys, mostly all of them were older than me, mostly 3, 4, 5 years older than me, been in the Navy for 5 or 6 years. And then I had a chief who was, he'd been in the Navy for 17 years, and I'm his new boss. So it was a very, very humbling experience, I guess you could say.
And you better earn their respect real quick, or...
Yeah, I took it as the approach of, I don't know everything yet, but I am passionate about leading this division and being there for each and every one of you. I'll do whatever it takes to help you guys succeed and help meet the mission. And I'm gonna be pushing myself as hard as possible to learn my job as quickly as possible, so I can make their lives easier. And so I kind of approached it like that, and everyone took that on board as, hey, this guy he really cares. And so they all kind of helped me out in the beginning. And then as soon as I was able to spread my own wings and fly, I ran the division the way I wanted it to be ran, and every single sailor appreciated that. So
you spend 2 years and 5 months there, and before you leave, you're in charge of 4 divisions, which is, how many men is that?
That is 55. It was right around 55.
Okay.
And I ended up being I kind of got promoted to assistant operations officer. The operations officer is a department head who is, one of the most senior ranking on the ship. And so I was his assistant. They trusted me. I was really good at my job. I'd been on the ship for a while and established a very good reputation. So they gave me additional responsibility, and I did really well with it. There was a moment where I was overseas, and it was my first deployment, and we were establishing a multinational exercise. And my operations officer couldn't attend the meeting for whatever reason. So they said, hey, Mr. Engel, we're going to send you in his place, and you're going to represent our ship, the USS John L. Hall, and you're essentially representing the United States of America. And so I show up to this meeting, and there's all these, captains and admirals and very high-ranking military officers in this meeting. And I stand up and I say I represent the USS John L. Hall in the United States of America, because I was the only U.S. representative there, and it was a really amazing experience. And I'm like, where else could you get an experience like that except, in the U.S. Navy? It was really, really cool.
Wow, that sounds truly amazing.
Yeah.
When you leave there, your next tour starts in January of 2011, and you end up becoming the executive department head on this tour?
So I was stationed in Mayport, Florida for both of my ships. And, I kind of shot for the stars, and I said to my detailer in between ships, I said, if you guys want to put me in like Naples, Italy, or Sasebo, Japan for a staff job somewhere with like an admiral, I'm like, I'll do that. But if none of those billets are open, I'll take another ship in Florida. So they said, yeah, right, you're getting another ship in Florida. And so I went to weapons training school for a couple months in Virginia, and then I reported to a destroyer in Florida. And this ship is 5 years old. It's a very, very capable warship. It's got all the state-of-the-art technology and all the fancy Gucci buttons and everything like that, all the touchscreen stuff. And, I like to describe it as a very capable warship because it's very impressive.
Okay. So you're there until April of 2012, and this kind of takes us up to where we currently are. In June of 2012, you end up in Point Mugu, California. You're currently a lieutenant in the Navy, and your title is Satellite Operations Officer. Talk to us about where you are now and what you're doing as that Satellite Operations Officer.
Okay. So for those of you who don't know where Point Mugu is, which I didn't either when I got my orders, I Googled Point Mugu. I said, where the heck is Point Mugu? And I look at a map and I said, oh my gosh, that's right next to Malibu. So I'm going to be living in Malibu. This is amazing. So I reported to my command, and it's the Satellite Operations Center, and it's the headquarters for all of the Navy and Air Force satellites that we have up in space. So we have different detachments all over the world in Australia, Italy, Maine, Hawaii, Guam, places like that. And those are all detachments from our command, and they all report to us. So we're the headquarters, and we basically send Big Navy a situational update every day or every week, telling and reporting about the status of our satellites and how well they're doing.
So you're there for another year, Rick?
It's a 2-year billet, so I have a year and a half left.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you're done there, you have aspirations to take a totally different career path. Tell us about where you want to head next.
So when I was on the USS Farragut, my last ship, I was thinking about my career and where do I want to get stationed next, and what do I want to do for the rest of my life. And I decided that although I've loved my time in the Navy and I've learned a lot from it, this isn't what I want to do for the rest of my life. This is just a stepping stone. And I thought about it for a while, and when I did musicals in high school, it really stuck with me, and it really made an impact, and I really it sparked something inside of me that I never realized until then. And I realized that, you know what, I still have a passion for acting and performing and entertaining. And when I was in high school and I was applying to the Naval Academy, if I didn't get in, or if the route didn't happen, I was highly considering moving to Hollywood and trying to become an actor. So 8 years later, I'm still thinking about it, and I'm still passionate about it. And I said, Rick, you're just lying to yourself. Like, stop lying to yourself and just admit that you want to be an actor and do it. So I finally made the decision, you know what? I owe it to myself. Live life to the fullest, have no regrets. This is what I want to do. And so I made the decision while I was in Florida. I took acting classes in Florida. I did some plays and some murder mystery dinner shows. And each day and each performance, it was reassurance that, you know what, this is what I really want to do. So I tried to get stationed in California as close to LA as possible. And I got, Western Malibu, which is pretty good. And so as soon as I got here, I learned my job very quickly. I'm very good at my job. So that way I can work hard and I can play hard. So after working hours, I have been pursuing my acting career and doing very, very well with it in a short amount of time that I've been here.
I want to back up here because I don't want to be remiss and forget this. You will have received several letters of appreciation, of commendation. You have received the Navy Unit Commander Medal, but there's one that you cherish most. Tell our viewers about that one, how you got that one before we have to leave.
I had just showed up to my ship, and I'd been on board for maybe 9 months. And my commanding officer pulled me aside and said, listen, we have a search and rescue program on our ship that just failed inspection. And, search and rescue is a very mission critical program on our ship. And if it fails, that's a huge deal for our ship. And he said, I need somebody to come in with fresh eyes and revamp this program. Are you the guy? And I said, sir, I am your guy. I will turn this program around and do whatever it takes. So I knew nothing about the search and rescue program, but I eventually learned everything that I possibly could and then some. I became the subject matter expert. I went above and beyond with thinking outside the box and meeting with other officers and really getting guidance and instructions and understanding it, taking work home and really thinking about what I could do next. All while I'm taking care of my other jobs. I have like 4 other jobs on the ship, and 18 sailors to be in charge of. And in a very short amount of time, I completely turned around that program and revitalized it. And we passed with flying colors. The inspector said it was the best search and rescue program in the basin of all the other ships that were around us that he's inspected in a very long time. And he suggested that I go to other ships and tell them what I did and how I did it to help with the other ships' search and rescue programs. So that's what I did. I went over and I think I helped about 4 other ships. And I said, hey, this is what I did and this is my approach. And I thought outside the box. And the inspectors, sent a personal letter to my commanding officer basically saying how wonderful I did with the inspection and how much I've helped other ships. And my commanding officer gave me a Navy Achievement Medal, which is a very high honor, especially for somebody, fresh on the boat. Seriously, 9 months is not a very long time in the real Navy. So it was a huge honor. I was absolutely blessed and proud that, my work made a difference for, the entire ship and the command. So
congratulations on receiving that not once but twice.
Yeah, thank you.
You update us on what you've done. You're looking to get into the acting field. What have you done while you're out there? You said you're right out next to LA. You make trips out there. What have you done so far in pursuit of that?
Okay, so I drive to LA pretty frequently, 3, 4, 5 times a week sometimes. After working hours, I'll go to auditions or I'll do gigs or I'll network with people. So far, I have just been kicking butt. I've only been here for 5.5 months, and so far I've been in 3 feature films. I just landed a huge commercial that is just going to be wonderful once it actually comes out. And I've done some print work for some companies, which is a fancy term for like pictures and magazines and stuff like that. But I've been learning very quickly, and I've been excelling very quickly and networking and loving every minute of it. Each job is different, and I take a little bit of experience and advice from each one and network. I've just been loving it, and I've only been here for 5 months, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for me, and just within the year. So.
Well, it sounds like you've got this second career already rolling before you're leaving
yeah.
the other one. So it sounds like you're well on your way to fulfilling that, making that dream come true.
Yep, making it happen. And when you're passionate about it, there's nothing that can stop you.
For the students that are still at our 4 high schools in the Lenape District, for why they're here and when they get out, what words of wisdom or advice can you give them?
Just like my quote with living life to the fullest, if you are passionate about something, that's what you should be doing. Don't go to college and get a degree in something that you don't care about. Don't just get a random job because it pays the bills. If you really think that you're passionate about something, there should be nothing in the world that gets in your way and stops you from achieving those dreams and those passions. Being positive and being well-rounded and just really enjoying life and what it has to offer, because really the possibilities are unlimited. It's only limited on the choices that you make or the thought process that you have. So just being positive about life and really being optimistic and going after your dreams, just like I have always done and always will.
Rick, we're just about out of time. I'd really like to thank you for being here today. I'd also like to thank you on behalf of the Lenape District for your service to the country and everything you've done.
You're very welcome. Thank you, John. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
We've been speaking with Rick Engel. Rick is a lieutenant in the Navy, currently stationed at Point Mugu, California, where he serves as Satellite Operations Officer. Please join us next time for more alumni interviews on Where Are They Now?